For me, the word journey work, it's a very powerful word because it has journey and work combined, and it's sometimes used pejoratively. People look at a painting and they say, oh, that's not great, it's just journey work, i.e. almost like hack work, However, I found that a very interesting work to apply to what I've been doing for the past 30 odd years, which is the work as best as I can make it without being too overwrought about the view that people may take it as art. And then another influence on the name was I heard an anecdote that somebody said somewhere that Picasso and his mates, when they were sitting around, didn't talk about periods or views, but they actually talked about the price of turpentine. And that struck me as relevant to journey work, that people are working and they get up in the morning and work. And I've always had that idea that I'm a working artist. I get up, I use my imagination, whatever capacities I have to make mainly literary things, but also public stunts like street theatre, and I come at that from an artistic place, and I'm on a journey with it, but it is work, hence the arriving at the word journey work for this collection of essays. I've written across all forms, written like lyrical drama. The play Denizen is in terza rima, like Dante, and it's about a dissident Republican, so it's kind of, I'm interested in banging forms, styles, approaches with events and characters and stories. So I've written short stories, novels, plays in English and in Irish, and I kind of went, and I have been writing nonfiction in a concerted way since 2011, specifically a blog. And when I was coming around to certain thoughts about journey and work and all that, I kind of thought, do you know what, this is not a novel, this is not a play, this is an article for a magazine. No, it's not that. Actually it's an essay. It's a personal essay, and there's now, I'd say in the past 20 years, quite an expanding body of work, which is called creative nonfiction. That is nonfiction, which uses some of the attributes of fiction, style, the use of metaphor, the use of character, the use of different voices, and various others to create what is definitely a non-fiction work, i.e. it's true to a life. And in my case, this is my artistic life, my writing life, my creative life. Very good question. The obvious answer is TMB, too many birthdays. I've hit 70. That's a classic time in a human's life for reflection, looking back. So with a dose of TMB on the go, it seemed right. Although I would have to say, I have been doing this kind of reflecting and self-criticism all my working life. So part of being creative is being warmly self-critical, not beating yourself up, but at the same time looking at things and listening to things and saying, not so sure if that works, Dave, or you need to give that another go. So time of life will be part of it, and also a desire to work in a new form, and in this case, the personal essay. Well, each essay presented a challenge, and also to provide some kind of consistent arc. So they're not like scattergun, where's he going now? But they do take a shape, and there is a kind of a shape in a life. And it's about my writing practice. So it starts essentially with the first things I wrote, which is when I was in a hospital when I was 16. And it ends essentially in another hospital with other medical beats in between. So those medical matters provided a kind of signpost, milestones along the way, but it's essentially an arcing journey with up and down. So I think that was one of the challenges, to find a shape for it. This is much more in my voice. When you write a play or write a novel, my last novel in English is called Oak and Stone. It's a detective novel, and so it's written in the voices of the characters. Right now, in one way, all of those characters are me, but in another way, they're not. Right, and similarly, writing in Irish, the last book in Irish is called Óra agus Mill, and they're two young women who are hairdressers. So I'm not a detective and I'm not a hairdresser. So you're writing in imagined voices, whereas this is much more my voice. The tone of it, it's humane and warm, self-critical, politically engaged, but it's definitely me. If you read a sentence and, that's... I would like, actually, if people were reading, to kind of be able to say, oh yeah, I can hear him, as you would like. You pick up an article by Dickens and you'd like to be able to say, oh yeah, I get Dickens, Writing in Irish and writing in English, there are differences. Firstly, I'm a first language English speaker and very much a second language Irish speaker, though I am fluent. So there's that. So I don't have the same well of language richness that a first language Irish speaker would have, right? However, I have sufficient Irish to write 2 novels and half a dozen plays and a load of radio drama. So there are particular pleasures in writing it. There are turns of phrase in Irish. There are approaches you can make to something that seem richer somehow in Irish to me. Now, that may be just a personal experience thing, not a linguistic thing. I certainly get great pleasure out of, at the end of the day, somebody like me, creatively, what I'm looking to do is create good sentences and string them all together creatively in a way that a reader will engage with. So regardless of the language, I think those creative challenges remain. Nerve Centre, which is a major multimedia centre in Derry, but across Ireland and further, I've had a working partnership and friendships in here for all my work in life, going way, way back to, I first wrote scripts for cartoons, animated cartoons on the story of Cuchulainn for the animator who's based in here, John McCluskey. And it was a terrific experience, and it kind of really made me understand the significance of story and how an animator with the gifts that John McCluskey has could kind of make them live in that particular televisual style. So I've had a long-standing relationship with the Nerve Centre, with that, with other scripts. I did a series, a slate, you would call it, of community/public/community education videos, mainly produced by Jim Curran, but also Mervyn Ramage was a central figure. The late Mervyn was a central figure in it, and people like Lynn Wallace, who was here through that period, putting all these things together. So I did a pile of those, and that was great. And then other work. Overall, my ongoing relationship has, on a personal level, has been with Pierce Moore here, and sometimes working together, but all the times cordially and friendly. So the idea of creativity works for the Nerve Centre. The book of essays is about creativity as an underlying and overarching theme. So it was a natural occurrence that the Nerve Centre would say, we'll publish that. Now, the Nerve Centre publishing is a very, very innovative act. I don't think the Nerve Centre has published a book before in a formal sense. Now, produced loads of festival catalogues and so on, and other documents, to use that language, very successful, particularly in heritage and history projects and so on. But this is a definite new venture. However, what was very impressive immediately after the conversation started was there's a load of skills in the building, in the Nerve Centre, that cross over readily, and loads of individuals in here who are well able to transfer skills. We can do this and we can do that in a very innovative way. Thus, connecting it with the Foyle Film Festival, I have had work at the Foyle Film Festival over all my life. My most recent piece of work at the Foyle Film Festival was a theatre piece I made in McLaughlin's hardware shop on William Street in 2013. So I made a theatre piece, and some film people, Jatcon Media, filmed it, and we screened it upstairs. And they were a full house, great fun. It was 100th birthday of the shop and the family. They brought in a birthday cake with 100 on it. So that's the most recent connection with the Foyle Film Festival. I've attended at various times through the years, but the most significant connection with film in here is I wrote the screenplay for the short Dance Lexi Dance, which the Nair Centre produced and took to Galway Film Festival, various other festivals, and eventually to the Academy Awards in Los Angeles. The main highlight I got from it was a sense of successful reflection. You know, things I knew I was doing, like fear. There's an essay in it about fear. And I knew I was afraid of certain aspects of my work and my profession. And in the essay, that's tied in with hill walking, not mountain climbing, hill walking, but still very high. And fear I'd experienced in places like the Alps and Donegal and so on. I like the fact that now when I think about it, I managed to kind of get that out of myself and down on a page.